Guys, welcome back to my Spider-Man series reviews. Reviewing every Spider-Man movie once a month until Captain America: Civil War in May. Let's get started to talk about what was my most anticipated film of all time before The Force Awakens with Spider-Man 3. Man, this movie sucks. Obviously, I went into this movie in 2007 with a ton of friends and my mom. My mom and me used to go to these movies all the time. When we went with friends, we went the week after the movie opened, and I remember it was the last day of school. Getting out. It was the last day also the year before I came to Nebraska. And I remember I'm like, as a boy, I'm seeing Spider-Man 3 tonight. Woohoo! I remember even as a kid, I was really disappointed. This movie had a lot going into it, and man, did it suck. Now I'm going to get into some spoilers. If you are not been keeping up with my Spider-Man movie series reviews, I'm going to be getting into spoilers, so you have been warned. Please just watch the film. If you don't want to watch it, just keep watching this. Honestly, I don't care. Let's get into a movie that really broke my heart. Spider-Man 3 was a movie that really had a lot going for it. After Spider-Man 2, you got this amazing, great film, and then you got the sequel, which everybody hated, because it was the sequel that really found out that Sony was behind this shit all along. Sony was the people who really wanted this movie to suck. They really, really wanted this movie to suck. And man, it did. Gotta say though, the first hour of this movie is actually great. From what we see with Peter and MJ and their relationship falling apart and him trying to figure out what Harry and him. I love the first half of this movie where there's conflict between these two are butting heads, because Harry still thinks Peter killed his father. And we only know that he didn't. And when Harry gets that concussion with the Hobgoblin, which was a big thing, I didn't really mind it. A lot of people hated that Harry got this concussion and the whole love triangle thing, which I do think is very stupid. But I think it builds into Harry's character, in my opinion. The first half of this movie is actually great. I think it's really good. But then I think the film loses its touch when Peter gets into the dancing scene. But we'll talk about that in a little bit. We get a lot of great stuff from the first half of this movie, from when Peter and MJ and how the relationship isn't really going in. Who I think was great, Thomas Hayden Church. Great as the Sandman, but they didn't really get much out of him. I think the biggest problem with this movie was them trying to do 3 Spider-Man villains all in one. You got the Hobgoblin, you got the Sandman, and you got Venom. And we'll talk about Venom in a little bit. But obviously putting all 3 of those villains together was not the best idea, because that's automatically what destroyed Spider-Man 3, was that the villains never really cared. We never really cared about the villains at all, because there really was no point for there to be villains at all. It was a terrible idea, because I think you don't really need to have a lot of villains in this movie, and automatically when you do, Spider-Man doesn't really know what to do, and I guess that's really where the movie loses its touch a lot. We also know that the producers of the film and Sony really just didn't care. They didn't care about Sam Raimi's touch. They didn't care, so Sam Raimi was like, fuck you guys, I'm doing a movie, I don't care what people say, I'm going to do the movie the way I want to, and the way I want to do it, because you guys want it, so I'm going to shit the movie together. And that's automatically what happened, because they were planning Spider-Man 4, and then they canceled it, because obviously it was pulled back, and it sucked. Obviously. I do have to say, though, Tobey Maguire is great in this movie for a lot of it, and Kirsten Dunst was great in this movie. They all tried, because this movie doesn't have any bad performances, except for one. But I think they all tried, because this movie was just so bad. It was just so bad. And I think the movie gets it. The whole Ben Parker thing with Sandman I thought was a terrible idea, because I don't think you really need to get into it more. And I thought it was a terrible idea. The Sandman, though, I thought was great. Thomas Hayden Church, to this day, is still a really great part of this movie. I think he's great as Sandman. I would love to see him come back. Maybe. He may be a little too old, but I think he would be a great Sandman to do maybe in the new Marvel Cinematic Universe, because he is a great Sandman. I really like him as Sandman. Other stuff in this movie that I really don't like, where a lot of the film has a lot to do with the characters, and you got a lot of this, but when you have like Gwen Stacy, who doesn't even need to be in the movie, because if you know the comics, Gwen Stacy was the first love of Peter Parker, and she automatically died because the Green Goblin threw her from a clockwork tower, and we'll get into that with The Amazing Spider-Man 2 in May. But I think just the idea of having this was not good, because I don't think you really needed to do it. I don't think you really needed to have her in the movie, and I think the movie automatically loses its touch when Peter Parker becomes a Black Spider-Man, because obviously you get a lot of this, you get a lot of what it was trying to do, and you get his vengeance against Ben Parker, his uncle, because he really doesn't like it, and he gets that vengeance. And I remember Aunt May, the part where Aunt May says vengeance is like poison. I like that speech, but the movie automatically loses its touch. I think, although, what the big mistakes were seeing Peter Parker and MJ break up. He wanted to propose, she said no, they broke up. Harry gets in the middle of that. The love triangle was so bad. I don't really think you needed to do that. And we have to talk about the Peter Parker dance. It's awful. It's hysterically bad. There's points in this movie where him being emo Spider-Man just killed me inside, because he does not need to be emo Spider-Man. It's a horrible idea, and it's a really bad idea, and I still regret Sony doing that. Obviously, I think the movie's biggest problem, and we have to talk about it, it's Topher Grace as Venom, aka Eddie Brock. Look, I like Topher Grace. I really do. I think he's great in that 70s show, but as Venom, it didn't work. Look, it really, really didn't work, because this has so much to say about the film, where him as Eddie Brock, it lost it. It was, oh my god. It lost it. It was just so bad. Venom's only in the movie for like 10 minutes, and when the scenes he's in, I really just didn't like it. It was horrible. I think Eddie Brock didn't need to be in this movie at all. You could have taken him out and just focused on him. Just focus on him, because I think if you got someone else, I think it would have been, but it was horrible acting. And I know a lot of people like Topher Grace as Venom. I don't. I hear they're doing a new Venom movie. I really hope they can do it right, and if they do it right, please just don't cast Topher Grace. Cast somebody else. That's for all I care. I think the movie definitely has J. Jonah Jameson. J.K. Simmons is funny in some of the scenes in this movie. The whole stuff with him and the whole banter with him and Peter and Eddie was great, I think. And it was really funny. I like the scene where Peter puts his feet up on his desk, on J. Jonah Jameson's desk, and he just gives him that look. I thought that was funny. I really want him to come back, though, in the new Spider-Man. I would love to see J.K. Simmons back. Although I'm hearing Ice Cube is rumored to be J. Jonah Jameson in the new ones, and I actually quite like that. I think that's a great idea. Let's talk about the last half of this movie. MJ gets captured, and you get all the big two villains, Sandman and Venom, go up against Peter and Harry, who Harry actually finds out that about his father. I like the moment he had with the butler, where he was telling him how his father cleaned his father's blade, and how the blade was actually the one that killed him. I thought James Franco was good in this movie. I thought he gave a good role, and automatically what happens, that was a touching moment for me, actually. But what happens automatically is Harry does die, and that was a big moment. That was actually a pretty sad moment, was Harry's death. And Venom blowing up, that was a dumb idea. Venom didn't even need the movie. Sandman and Peter forgiving, that was okay. It was a touching moment, that last ending. But Harry's death was a big part of the franchise, because I'm like, where are they going to go now that Harry's dead and this saga kind of ended with the goblins? But I think the movie as a whole just fails. It's a movie that has problems. I can easily watch this movie again, though. I mean, it's not like Jurassic Park 3 where I don't want to watch it again. If I watch the first two and I like them so much, I can easily watch this again. And for that reason, I'm going to give Spider-Man 3 a C-. Yes, it's bad. Yeah, it's bad. But I can see myself maybe watching it every once in a while, and I really don't want to. And I do own it on Blu-ray. And for that reason, that's why I'm giving the grade. Guys, that is my next review in my series of Spider-Man reviews will be for The Amazing Spider-Man. Look forward to that next month. I have a lot to say about that one. Guys, thank you so much for watching. If you guys like this, like, share, subscribe to your friends, and have a great Thursday.